Hi, welcome to this tutorial about how you can create images in Miliastra Wonderland. You can see the image here, and we are going to look at how we can change them inside of Nodegraphs, for example with using this tab. So first, let's add an image. Go up here and select the Manage Your Eye Control Groups menu. Inside of this menu, you can add a new UI control and open the prefabricated templates. Here you can find the image. After you placed it inside of your scene, you can choose the reference. For example, you can choose between a lot of different things. You can use them to design your interface. You can pick colored ones or ones that aren't colored yet. So let's use a circle. Down here you can choose between stretch and basic in the image type. When you go to basic and use the original sizing here, you can make sure that the picture isn't stretched. If you want it to stretch, you can just zoom it. And you can also choose the other settings, so it changes depending on the settings how it stretches. When you place the image on your screen, you can give it a zoom factor. This changes the size without changing the size in the middle. And when you do it like this, you also change the whole thing. You can place it individually on the devices when you turn this one off. So you can move it up here and it doesn't happen. If you turn this one on, you can see that the size and placing and all the same for each of the devices. When you want to sync it and, for example, place it in this upper corner, it can happen that on some devices it goes outside of the area. For this you can use the waypoint settings to anchor it into the right place. This way it's where you want it on all devices. You can also change the center of the picture. The center is the blue circle in the middle. So for example, when we put it to 0, it goes to the corner here. If you have different pictures, you can change also the color of them. It is best to use not colored one when you want to change the color, so the color doesn't look weird at the end. It works with some pictures but not all, so when you go for monochrome ones you're safe. You can pick the colors here with this color selector, or you can go for hex code or RGB. And you can change the transparency. So the transparency changes if it is you can see through it or if it covers completely. When you have a color that you want to use in multiple places inside of your stage, you can add it to the storage and select it here later. So for example, if we have it on white now, we can select it here and have the color. There are different ones you can save. you have 20 as a limit. You can also click on them and delete them again. And the limit counts only inside of one stage, so if you have a different stage, the storage is not shared. There are also a few recommended colors to pick from, and you can see the ones you have recently used. If you want to change the image during the game, you can go to the image source and set it to dynamic. Here you will need an asset ID. So if we go back to static, we can see the asset ID here, or when we open this, we can copy it here. So for example, we could set the circle from this one to this one. Make sure you copy the ID, and then you can close this window using the escape key. You need for the dynamic one a variable where you save the ID of the picture. You can change the variable later inside of your Nodegraphs to change the picture. For example, you can go to the stage and create a variable here. You can, for example, use an integer and copy the ID of the picture. When you go back into the UI control groups and select it, now we can go to the dynamic reference and select the variable we just created. Next, we want to change the image inside of a Nodegraph. So close this with escape again. To trigger it, we will need an event. So for example, you can use a dynamic unit or a prefab and a tab. Let's move the trigger area a bit up and make it bigger so we can easily use it. And in the next step, we will need to create a Nodegraph. So here we make a new Nodegraph and rename it. First, we will need the event. So when the tab was selected, we want to check what tab it was in case there are multiple on side of the object. And next we need to set the variable. The variable is inside of our stage, so we can just get a stage through the git. By pressing on the symbol over here, we can easily search. In case you have a lot of objects in here, you can just type stage to find it easier. Connect this to the custom variable and put the name of it in here. The variable type has to be the same as the one inside of the stage. And here you can use the ID of the image you want it to change to. So after creating this Nodegraph, go back to Genshin. Here we can select our entity here and add the Nodegraph. After doing this, we can quick save and start test play. To shorten the loading screen, you can put this off and then start again. We can now see up here the picture, and if we now interact with the sign, it changes to the other picture. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more Miliastra Wonderland related tutorials, you can follow. I have a playlist with a few other videos about different types of UI components. You can find the link in the description.